Welcome to Tech Ties and Human Vibes, where we explore the tech that powers modern businesses and drives innovation. I'm Adam, and with me is Nancy. We'll be talking to entrepreneurs, innovators, and industry experts about the tools they use, the challenges they face, and how technology is shaping the future of work. Let's dive in.
I've had a lot of conversations recently where we're talking about the different tool sets for leadership or for sales or things like that. And in the technology space, we have our tech stacks, right? So we have the stack that we use to service our customers. And so I've been taking that concept of it's the same thing, tool set that you have in your arsenal for leadership, right? So you've got your leadership stack, and that could be a combination of different assessments and different tools and things like that to be able to guide you through, whatever it is that you're going through or needing to look into. And so that's interesting that you're developing your stack, ultimately speaking, in the sense that you can go to a customer and say, I can help you with your operations. Once we're at that point with EOS, I can help you with sales through this aspect of it, and I'm sure you have other tools also that you bring in with your coaching and stuff like that as well.
Similar concept. And then obviously, I think what helps a lot is, well, the overall experience part, right? If like where I've been and doing these turnarounds for entities of different companies and then different smaller companies, it just builds credibility. It doesn't tell you a whole lot to begin with, but people that like this guy in the UK, they were suspicious at first because quickly after the first discussion they had with Pete, he said, "Yeah, we're starting to work together with somebody in the US." And he's like, "Well, who is that?" And like, "How do you think he's the right person for us?" So he sent my resume, and we'll have a call tomorrow or Wednesday. And then they talked about getting me to the UK for the kickoff workshop. Um, which is cool. It just helps kind of jump that first hurdle. But then yeah, eventually my thought is too, like as I'm going through all this, it's okay. I don't think I want to just stand on one leg forever like I've done before. It's either a paid for job, right? Or it's EOS or whatever it is, and something going wrong, and you're only known to do this one thing. But in a combination, like you said, I like the word stacks. That's kind of cool. You have different building blocks that you can offer, and they all also feed off of each other, right? That somebody hires you for one specific doesn't mean you have no chance to do the other. It's just that depending on what comes first or what's highest priority for them, you can help them. And that goes back to, that's a cool subject I like actually. It goes back to doing the discovery in the first place and finding out what the pain points are and what the demand real is, right? It's like this old saying, to the man with only a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And I think that's how many people, especially also consultants, they call themselves consultants, they call themselves coaches. Some are doing a great job based on experience, but a lot of them regrettably never have had any physical education in either one. And that's what I think kind of drags that whole spectrum down a little bit because there's only so many good and it's hard to find out who is really good. And not that a certification or a three-letter abbreviation behind your name means that you're a great person. It's a good indicator to, that you're probably worth talking to over somebody else. But I think it all comes together when you really do a thorough discovery, talk to people, and identify their weak spots, their pain points, what keeps them up at night, what really needs to be done, and then reading between the lines and listening for what's not being said, and then digging deeper there and finding out, oh, okay, like you're saying this, but what you're actually saying is you're looking for a band-aid, but let's just keep that off for a minute here and sit with that pain for a bit and talk about that more. And all of a sudden you come up with what's really underlying and driving them. And if you can then go and offer a fix, a permanent fix, um, it's just awesome. And it feels so good too. I think it's so satisfying.
Thomas, you had said something just a minute ago, and it got me thinking there. Just because you have the 2 or 3 letters after your name doesn't mean you're a good person. like along that lines, right? Let's say I'm looking for somebody to help me, right? I'm looking for an implementer. Um, what should I look for to find somebody that meshes well? Do I find somebody that meshes well with me, or do I find somebody that's good at what they do? Because, and I ask this question because, like, if I'm looking for a coach for my son to be a good basketball player, Nancy, you know this. If I'm looking for a good coach, it might not be somebody that I would want to hang out with, right? I mean, they might be hard. They might be, I don't know, for lack of better words, they might be mean, but yet they get the results. And it's because of the way they drive, right? So, what if I'm looking for somebody, what do I look for? Can you help me do that?
Sure. Um, First off, I want to say I don't know about that, Adam. I get what you're saying, and I do believe there's something to it. There's something to be said about, and I include myself in that, right? I sometimes need a kick in the butt to get moving, like certain important people in my life. I don't want to say my wife because if she ever listens to this, but like she could say something 10 times and it's super valid and super important, and I just don't get it. There's back to this old theory that you need to hear things so and so often. We say 7 times in the US to hear it once. So constant repetition is a thing, and that's the same with drills, right? For take basketball, same thing. So you want somebody as a coach who can do that for one. The other thing is, yeah, sometimes they probably have to push you a little harder and not always be super friendly because what a good coach does is they get you out of your comfort zone. And that's in sport as in business. It doesn't really matter. However, I also think there's something to be said about the relationship building capability if you want. So what I try to, well, my sports is obviously soccer, but same analogies. I really try to build a relationship with my players, and I still have some to this day. They call me Coach Tom. They call me for my birthday. When I come up to Chicago, we'll meet up for lunch or dinner. I mean, I met them when they were still in high school. Now they're in their jobs. Some are married, and like you see all these lifelong careers that they go through, like my kids, right? Um, and they still talk to me. They stay in touch. They send me stuff on Instagram that they are doing and they like. And um, I don't know. It's just cool. I like that. So always being the hard beep is in my mind not the perfect thing to do. It can help in certain situations, but I think you need the other side too, to make an impact in people's lives. And that's what I would look for, to go back to your analogy, where I think that if you're only looking for straightforward this niche, that's fine. But I think great coaches in sports and in business and in for life coaching, executive coaching, whatever it is, also manage to build relationships. First and foremost, to take this a whole step back, I'd say that a great coach in whatever capacity um, looks, well, is authentic for one. So you just we just are who we are, and that doesn't matter if we're here on a call, if we meet in person, if we meet in 2 years. I would hope that Nancy can confirm that from our relationship so far, that that doesn't change a lot. It's just how it is. So you are authentic. And then the other thing I want to say goes back to something we've discussed early on. I think it might have been in our first call, the concept of be, do, have, right? Where I think you would lay very much on the being side. So you are who you are as a coach, and you bring that out of the world. Now that means that certain clients, potential clients, will connect with me, and others probably won't. And then it's just okay. I'll send you a couple more good implementers that will coach you through this EOS program, that might be a better fit for you than I am. So it's the personal aspect. The other aspect is obviously that there is, well, while EOS is industry agnostic and it works for every kind of industry in the market it works in, it doesn't really matter what industry it is. Um, I think that it helps to be a little bit niche, if you will. So that could be you can't be a good basketball, football, soccer, baseball, everything coach, right? If you're a basketball coach, you're a basketball coach. And I think that kind of relates to some industry history that people have as business coaches. So my life has been in the trades and in manufacturing, and I think that does shine through. I can connect in these realms, or like from soccer, younger kids, more, if you will, modern industry, something out of the box. I have an affinity for that too. Um, and that just helps to connect, and it helps to build trust. And that's in the end what's the decisive factor, right? You have to trust that the coach you work with can get you to where you want to go, and that you actually enjoy the ride. There is nothing worse than owning a business you're in pain anyways. You can't sleep at night because you don't know if you can make the next payroll. And then you hire yourself someone as a coach to get you out of this, who just drags you through the mud every day, and doesn't have a polite word for you on the journey. I don't know. That's not my vibe. Other people might like that, and it might work for them. It certainly doesn't work for me.
Oh, there are masochists out there.
There are,
There are.
and
There are. I have a story for you. So when we first moved here to Dallas, was looking for a new coach for my son. And there was one coach that everyone said, like, you need to go to his program. And if for your son to get to where he wants to go in the time that he wants to do it, and this is the guy.
Mhm.
So we get there. He tries out. He makes it onto the team within the next couple of tryouts, because I tell him it's something that you have to go through, right? And you have to actually try it. Um, he ended up leaving there maybe a couple weeks into it, absolutely destroyed. Whatever confidence he had built earlier on, this coach came in and destroyed it. Didn't build him up,
Mhm.
didn't give him any kind um, of just forming trust or anything along those lines. Instead, it was the complete opposite. And so found him a new coach, and the complete turnaround was just absolutely amazing. And that's to say, just because one coach's method is good for some type of people, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you. And if, getting pushed and all of that, of course, is great. But if it's going to destroy your confidence while you're at it, because it's not who you naturally are, then it's not going to work.
I'm a fan of looking at 2 to 3 coaches, right? I do that myself when I look for a new coach, and I would recommend everybody do that for their business coaching EOS, for their executive coaching, or like you said, for sports coaches, whatever it is. And you'll find the one probably that just feels right. Out of 3, you have a good chance to find one that's so and so. One is probably too good to be true, and then there's like the middle way that's just feels right, and then usually it is. So not that you should make your decision purely on gut feeling, um, but I think it's important to get different aspects. I watched this movie a while ago. It's about a college rowing team or university rowing team. I think it was like in the UK. No, they were trying to beat Harvard. I forgot what it was called. Anyways, they got a new coach, and they had lost against Harvard years and years and years in a row. So uh, his whole method was all about bringing the team together at a team, right? And the one point of the movie that kind of stuck with me, there was one guy who was a little put off for different reasons. So he put him in the boat by himself. That's usually rowed by 8 people. And he had a hard time maneuvering that thing left and right, let alone moving it anywhere, right? So you need the people, and you need the team, and you need everybody to be aligned and row in the same direction. uh, that's a picture we oftentimes work with, and it's kind of very transparent if you think about that. Really, the people sitting in a boat with 8 people and trying to win a race. If somebody's offbeat, you're not going to win the race. So pushing people hard and pushing them to the edge is one thing, but I think being tough on teams in a way that spurs or ignites a spark for them and makes them row harder once they row in the same direction. But that's the first step, right? You got to make sure they work as a team. And then you can make sure you crank it up a notch and make them work harder so they get a better output. And part of that is when you look at individual people, be that players or new people on a leadership team. Somebody goes, somebody else comes, right? Um, for me, the first step is always to make sure they are well integrated and they kind of feel at home, and that's when they can be at their best. And that might be a little different for everyone on the team. So while you're still talking to the team and you're looking at the big picture, I think there's something to be said about addressing individual needs of people in a group, like that one person that today is so silent and usually talks much more. The one person that's doing stuff on their phone under the table all the time. There's always reasons for things going on. Everybody has things going on in their lives that they probably don't necessarily want to share, but that are having an impact on everybody else around them. Not all of that needs to be dragged out in the open in front of the team, but I think it's worth like a side conversation and a break or something. Just making sure everything's okay, making sure you understand what's going on and trying to help.
So you said something there that, of course, you say so much stuff, Thomas, that this spurred something else, bringing somebody new onto the team. So let's say in a different world, I'm an executive bringing somebody on at management level,
Mhm,
and we had to let the previous person go,
mhm,
but now we're bringing on a new person. How
mhm.
do you bring that person on to your team and build? I mean, because you can't just have your team can't just have instant respect for that person, right? Respect has to be something earned over time. But how do you get them? How do you expedite that? I guess.
I'll take that back to the relationship part. I think it's all about building relationships, and some of that is one-on-one. Like have everybody on the team that's already there, welcome them in terms of setting a one-on-one meeting if you can in person. If that doesn't work because you're remote, it's probably going to be a Zoom call. And that could be something like a virtual coffee in that case. Otherwise, like a physical coffee. Take them out of the office space, just connect as people, one-on-one. Spend some time, spend an hour, go to lunch, do something to get to know each other, which is, I think, a big part of the trust building process. And then, you can talk about a little bit also work, what's going on, how have things been done, what went great with the predecessor, what didn't, what are expectations, how do I know in your eyes I'm doing a good job, and like these types of things, which I think once you also connect personally, it's much easier to solicit feedback, ask for that. So for one, it's coaching and talking to the person that's coming in and saying, okay, this is what we want to do. This is what our process is. This is what we encourage. And then talking to the rest of the team to make sure um, they go into this open-minded and really give that new person a fair shot, spend some time with them one-on-one. And that should be like, twice a month over the first 3 months or something. And then at some point, like that's where I would force it a little bit and kind of set an agenda and say, okay, this is the expectation. And at some point, things will develop, and I think they'll just do it on their own because they hopefully like each other, get along. And if that's not the case, you'll find out pretty well if that person is not a match for your core values. And that's again going with EOS terms, right? Taking it a step back where you define your core values, and that's what you in the end hire, fire, promote with. So you do what you can to hire somebody that's a good fit for your core values, which usually means he's the right person. Um, I'll take it there in the right seat because he looked at capabilities before, and that'll just make the whole process of getting aligned with everyone and becoming a part of the team easier.
I love the concept of a virtual coffee. Like I've never thought whenever I hear that, and it just dawned on me that it doesn't have to be the way that I've always thought it, but I've always thought of it as like, um, you have a you have something you're drinking, I have something I'm drinking, and we're sitting right here. But if you all took that, if you took it to another level, right, and you actually left your office environment and you went to Starbucks and they went to Starbucks, even though you're sitting in two different Starbucks in two different cities, you're still out of your quote unquote office, right?
Yep.
And you're
Yep.
having that conversation. I actually like that a lot. I think that's
Yep.
I think that would be really neat. And I don't know if you meant it that way or not, but
Yeah, like go physically out of your regular space. And that's for everybody also a little bit getting out of the comfort zone, right? Becoming vulnerable. Um, and then the same in the conversation. Just be yourself, be open. Don't hide anything and just
I
try to
love
build a
that.
relationship.
I love that. Often I will go out and sit on a gazebo outside, um, you know, just to get out of work. And Nancy always finds me. I don't know how she does it,
Little
but
do
she
you know, you have
does.
an air tag on you. No, just kidding.
She's like, oh, wait a second. He's moved 25 feet.
I'm-
I know he's
yeah.
not sitting at his desk.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's something in a regular day, right? Every so often change location, go somewhere else, get a
Yeah.
little bit of a different scenery, take a 5 minute break.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I
walk
it's
around.
crazy for me. Like I will find myself more creative if I just go outside just once a week. It only takes like once, twice a week for me. I'll just go outside and sit. Sometimes I go with my son to this local coffee shop, and I mean, it's stupid because we're both sitting there with headphones on and laptops in front of us. We're not even having a conversation, but yet I'm able to get more work done in that short period of time sometimes than I am to
It's weird.
just sit at my own desk.
Yeah,
By the way, I think I'm having
yeah.
internet issues. In case okay. My son is back
I think you
home,
are too.
so that is
Yeah.
probably why I'm having internet issues.
Ooh, okay.
I notice every once in a while your arm goes from like here to all the way over here.
So, Thomas,
You're
let me
like,
ask
oh,
you this. So,
Matrix.
I have been studying for a new coaching program. It's called the Purpose Factor. What is your take on purpose and where it fits with the people that you coach, or that you've worked with in the past? Have you found um, I guess, any kind of coincidences or any success where there is purpose in the forefront as opposed to not?
Well, the short answer is yes. Here's a little bit the longer one. I think that purpose is a real interesting concept, and I have dabbled into that over the last month, um, and talked to a fellow implementer who actually is in the process of writing a book about purpose, believe it or not. Um, he's super cool and interesting guy, and he has a course he does at Rutgers University, just about purpose. And we talked a little bit about um, well, the whole concept, and also for me, different things were showing up. Right, I beat myself up about the same stuff. I'm not getting certain things done. I can't make progress there, whatever. And we talked about purpose, and in the sense of purpose, we talked about um, the concept of the plateau. And I thought that was super interesting. And that's how I discovered my creative process, like um, something new coming up, like take US, right? I'll just dig into it. So high fact finder on the Kobe, dig into it, read everything I can, talk to people, find stuff out. And then I'll just talk to people randomly. I have very nice conversations. They're probably not my target market. They're not very close to the people I actually needed to talk to, but they get me to the next level. And then it's like one stage one, two, three, I'd call it. And then stage three, I'm starting to get real close. And that's, I think, where I am with this effort. And then the plateau. And I visualized my plateau like I'm sitting on the landing. It's kind of higher up and trees around me, beautiful weather, and I can see a city down there that's hustling and bustling, and I'm in my laying chair, um, a nice mocktail in my hand or a non-alcoholic beer, and just enjoying the view. So saying that because purpose, many people I think are struggling because they don't know they have a purpose, they never thought about purpose, and they certainly didn't discover their purpose. Once you get on that journey and you do that, I think awesome new opportunities come up. And the plateau being part of the concept where nothing is ever a straight line, right? So just recognize where you are, how you got there, and take a minute to enjoy the view. instead of rushing by all these beautiful things, just take a minute. And how I mean that in the business sense is, okay, you've put in all this work to start a company. You've put in all this work to get your company off the ground. You've put in all this work to turn your company around. And like you said before as well, Adam, where you just take 25 minutes, right, to go out and be in a different spot and you get so much more creative. Um, Same here, you can be part of a system and understand the system at the same time. And you can be digging in and hustling all day long and realizing your purpose or seeing if you're on the way truly aligned with your purpose or not. You got to take a break. And that physically means take some less meetings, make a little space in your calendar and think about your purpose. What is that? Like, what do you want to do in life? Um, yeah, and my purpose clearly is helping small businesses run better, make more money, be happy, and enjoy life again for the business owners and everybody who's working in these businesses. And I found out for myself that that comes from my grandpa. He was a carpenter in Germany, died of cancer in 1990, 2 years into retirement, and he had like 30,000 Deutschmarks in the bank or something. So he worked all his life to build a business, but was never able to get through that ceiling and scale it to where he wanted it to be, or to where it would have provided him a royalist retirement, if you will. And I think this is so typical for many small businesses.
That was my next question. What do you think prevented him from doing that? From reaching the levels that he may have wanted to?
Well, I think the simple thing is that I don't want to say he wasn't educated. He just went to like the basic school that was the school at the time, right? And then he came out, and with 14 or so, he started his apprenticeship, and he made wooden wheels for carts. And then that turned into carpentry, and he started building windows and doors and stuff. And he was just good at what he did, and that's what he did. Then he hired a couple of people, and at the end, they had 4 people working in the shop, plus some other family members like myself helping out here and there on bigger projects on the weekends, um, that type of thing. And now you look at people that start a lawn care business. Well, they buy a lawnmower, a pickup truck, a trailer, whatever it is, and they start mowing lawns. They get a weed whacker, and then sometimes their wife comes in the house, or on the weekends their son's going to be there, summer vacation, uh, siblings, friends, whatever, help out. And then they probably hire someone else if it's good. Look at your business, small IT businesses. Somebody knows something about computers, programming, um, anything IT, they start out on their own. They're really good. And then they see that they can do it all themselves. So they hire somebody. And then they get to 3, 4 people, all the people problems start. Like it's not the right person, they don't come to work on time, they don't carry their load. So you hire another person, let that person go. And you're always in the day-to-day grind, and you never get to the point where you get to the fifth, sixth, and seventh, although the business is there. And they just are so much in the day-to-day trying to get all that done, and they never work on the business. They always work in the business. And that was my grandpa too. He was just good at what he did. He didn't really care about the other stuff so much. My grandma did the books. He was just doing the day-to-day carpentry work, and he loved it like nothing else. Um, and I don't wish I'd be 50 years older or so, but I do wish there would have been somebody with some kind of the knowledge and experience that I have these days to be able and take his hand and say, "Hey, come on, I'll guide you through this. Let's do this together for 2 years. I'll be with you here, and we'll make this what you dreamed it to be."
I mean, that's to assume that he would even want that, right? I know, I know a lot of people who work a job, and it's almost as if they're perfectly content with that job, where I would never be, but they're content with it. They're content with the 2 weeks of vacation that they get a year. They take one of those vacations and they stay home, and the other vacation they plan for all year long to go to, God forbid, but Disney, and then take their kids and they get back from that, and that's their life, and they love it, or at least they say they do. How do we know they do?
Well, that's part of the discovery phase, right? There's like, for one, there's many people who aren't entrepreneurs, and that's perfectly fine. You need all these roles. It's like you look at the population of the US, of any given country, right? There's people that mow lawns, there's people that take care of pools, there's people that want to work at the DMV. There's people that start a business in something. There's the people that are totally content, like you said, they're happy. And that's great. And then that's their purpose. And there's also these people who don't have the guts to start something on their own, but they still complain every day. Those, I think, would be people that probably at some point need a therapist. And then there's people who do have the guts and want something else, want something bigger, better, nicer for themselves, for their families, for their friends, for whatever it is. They have this big, bold idea and they have this itch to get going. Those are the people that need a coach. And those are the people that eventually want to work with a coach. Usually, at first, money is a factor, obviously. You don't make a lot of money in your business and all that. Okay. But when you get it to a certain point and you feel all this pain, you will do something about it. You know, the person that never in their life went to a doctor and all of a sudden they have heart condition, lung issues, water in their lungs, they can barely talk, they're always whistling when they talk, whatever. And they totally refuse to go to a doctor just because they don't want to go to a doctor. And wife talking to them, kids talking to them, you just can't get them to go to a doctor. Okay,
Did my wife
just
talk to you today?
no, not yet.
Do you
Okay.
She
need to go
probably
to a doctor?
she probably should
I'm
though.
gonna go talk to
So
Jeannie.
that's okay. That's just what it is. And there's people who are like tough nuts and stick it out for a while, and then at some point they say, okay, now I really need to go. So they go to doctor, pay the money, get better, and they say, man, why haven't I done this 5 years ago? And that's the same with coaching and EOS specifically too, right? You're in this pain and you don't want to do it. You think you can do it on your own. You're probably embarrassed because you can't pull it off, although you try so hard. And then you take the help, and it's like, man, I should have done this 5 years ago.
I think the biggest thing that holds entrepreneurs back, or people that are entrepreneur minded, is failure. Because from the time we're a kid, we're taught that failure is bad.
I'll
All
go
through
one layer
school, we're
deeper
taught
than that. It's not
uh,
necessarily the fear of failure, but the fear of rejection.
fear of rejection. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do feel that that is a big holdback. How is how do you overcome something that would be so small to some people, but yet it's the Great Wall of China to others?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that, especially because that's the perception thing, right? All three of us might look at something and you might say, Adam, piece of cake. Nancy might say, I don't know. And I may say, God, no. And it's still the same thing. So, like you said, for some it's easy, for others it's not. And I think your point, rejection, Nancy, is the biggest sticking point for many of these things. It's high school kids that have never worked in their life applying for a job, and they drag their feet because, well, they're afraid to get rejected. It's salespeople not making the call because they don't want to get rejected. And that's where we always say, like, yes lives in the land of no. So how many no's do you have to collect to get a yes from a potential client, customer, or whatever it is? How do you overcome that? Um, I think it's divide and conquer. And I want to give you a picture for this. So think about, I don't know, you hate swimming. Now you're, 40 years old, whatever it is. And finally, you got the guts to do it. So you go to the pool. Well, you won't jump in from the edge of the pool and start trying to do freestyle. You'll probably go in and put your head underwater and try to blow out through your nose and breathe in through your mouth when you come back up, like these types of things. And you can watch some instruction videos on that on Instagram. Same thing here, divide and conquer. Just do some easy stuff first. Get comfortable in the water. That's the first thing. And it's the same here. Do some easy stuff. Talk to some friends. Call someone you haven't talked to in a while when you take it back to sales, and just talk to them about what you do, what you sell, and then ask if they know somebody that would be interesting for. So you kind of get a warm introduction to your next conversation, and before you know it, you're talking to somebody you've never talked to in your life about what you actually do. And it's just that's kind of to me again where the coaching comes in. Like, take this process apart as much as you have to. For some, it's just overcoming it once and they're off and running, right? That's probably a little exaggerated, but it's an easy 3-step process to take it apart and say, okay, you do this thing. Once you do this 10 times, you feel so confident, you're just good to go. And for others, it's a month-long hand-holding and breaking it down much further to very, very easy things that you can do to overcome that. And once people gain some confidence in step one, you guide them through step two and then to step three. And
It's funny how you said kids nowadays, are afraid to go after that first job because they're afraid of rejection. It's so true. My son, 21, his it's like pulling teeth with him to do something, but he worked at Home Depot. He has a job currently at Home Depot, but he started applying for some other jobs because his long-term goal is a business owner. That's what his long-term goal is. He's like, Dad, I want to own a business. I said, well, if you want to own a business, you're going to need some sales skills. Like, I think you need bits and pieces. I said, you need real sales skill. So he applied for this job, and it's face-to-face sales. Like, I don't know, they sell like fresh water stuff. I don't know what they sell. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And so he got the job, and he's currently in the process of going through training, and then he's quitting his Home Depot job and going after that. And he's like, I don't care. And I was really shocked. He's clearly growing up. He said, I don't care if I fail or not. I'm going to learn sales. And I said, that's good. That's good.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, kids, I don't know, maybe the last 5 years of me drilling him, he's finally he's finally, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of on their own timeline too, right? And everybody needs something else to get started and to overcome that. And obviously with, well, the whole different subject, and we're probably getting off here, but the whole, if you're only on social media and you never have in-person interactions, that makes many things harder, like developing social skills and stuff. So getting out there and doing stuff. And for some, it might probably be something like volunteering somewhere. Just get out, be that at a food bank or whatever you have nearby, right? As a coach on a sports team, like become the assistant coach to a basketball coach and just learn some skills interacting with people, have some of the team members just learn to be with people and interact. And that might be a first step for somebody who is afraid of getting out there, afraid of selling, afraid of whatever. In the end of the day, I also believe that's what I tell everybody I talk to about sales. So look, everybody is in sales. There is no person in the world that's not in sales, because the one thing you always sell, no matter what, is yourself. Not only in a job interview, but every day you do something, every interaction you have, be that personal or not, you're kind of selling yourself as something. You're selling yourself as a good friend. You're selling yourself as a good person. You're selling yourself as a good parent, as a good spouse, as a whatever it is. Well, hopefully you can back that up and be authentic in it.
That's where a
But
lot of relationships go wrong.
yes, but there's good salespeople who are not really authentic, and sometimes they have issues in their relationships. That's true. But so, and that's the thing. If you can get it to where you have fun with it, that's awesome. And sometimes it's just taking the edge of selling off, like getting into conversations with people that are not pushy. And what I found, especially, well, I've been selling in the bank at first, insurances and whatever, and I've made a ton of cold calls in my life. I don't mind it, but the ratios are always the same, right? There you have to make a lot of calls to get some business together. With EOS, that's kind of different. You don't just call a business owner and tell them, hey, I want to sell you EOS, and they say, oh, great, when can we talk? That's very much about, you have to hit a certain point on the trust continuum. So they want to talk to you in the first place, and they believe that you can probably help in some way. And if you just go into conversations trying to genuinely help, that makes such a huge difference. And Have you guys read the book The Go-Giver?
No.
Okay, I can only recommend The Go-Giver. Super cool book. That's the thing, right? You go out and you help and you just do good stuff. It'll come back to you
It's one of these.
10 times. So, and that's where it's fun. You just go help and you never know where it's coming from. There could be a kid on the street with, I don't know, the chain came off the bike. Well, you stop your car, get out, fix the chain, and the next thing you know, he comes by your house with the dad and you have a nice chat. Turns out the dad is your perfect client. Well, all of a sudden you're having a conversation, and he not only does he become a client, but makes some introductions. So you fixing a chain on a bike for a kid leading to 3 pieces of great business or whatever. That's just an example. But I believe if we're truly out there to help and to do good, things will come back to you.
Yeah, I believe that as well, and I believe the power of a positive thinker too. I mean, if you think yourself, you can think yourself into a new position. You can think yourself into a business. You can. I personally, I believe that. Right. I believe
Yeah,
there is the power of positive thinking.
yeah,
I
I believe
believe
there is.
I
And the
believe
other,
in
the
that for sure.
other,
I believe that is a step though. That's step 1. The next
yeah,
step is taking
Well,
action.
yes, I'm
the
not
other
just
thing
going to
is,
lay in bed and think, man, I am going to get rich today.
no, you got to do something. You got to be out
That's
there.
right.
But the other thing is you gotta bring some patience, right? You can't pull the grass to make it grow faster. Some of that just needs to develop, and what that takes is time.
Wow, I like that term. You can't pull the grass to make it grow faster. That is good.
Not my strong suit though, but that's what it takes.
And that's why Thomas was my coach. Uh, he
I am
said that
totally going
just
to use
now, and
that,
I'm
just so
like,
you know.
"Oh, God, you have
Good,
to
feel
always
free.
remind me about that." That is a powerful
That
reminder,
is
and that's
good.
something that for me, I have been consistently telling myself over and over and over again over these last few weeks, which has been, "Do not lead from a place of urgency. Do not lead from a place of urgency." I've literally told myself that over and over and over again, so many times.
The thing is also kind of rounding this all off, right? Give yourself some grace. There's a lot of craziness and stuff, and like I said, some of these things they just take some time. And loading up with 1,500 calls a week or meetings and ignoring your family for the most part,
Yeah.
it's not going to get you more results than kind of doing it a little more subtle, because it's going to take time anyways. And take time to enjoy yourself. I think that's what many people that start a business, when you get so hunkered down and do everything to make the business a success, you forget about many things left and right of it, and the enjoyment goes away. And that's just what people sense all day long, because you're always on the edge and difficult to talk to. You got to find a certain moment where we could probably discuss XYZ subject. So certain things get delayed, dragged out, and guess what? That's just gonna multiply the problems and make them get bigger. So
I guess it would be the same philosophy that Dave Ramsey has. If you don't have money when you're poor, you won't have money when you're rich. And so it's that same philosophy, right? If you can't appreciate the time you're in right now, you won't appreciate the time you're in at a later point.
it's a good
And
one
you
too.
can't you can't pull grass to make it grow faster.
But I will try.
That's
I'm just
I love
kidding.
Yeah. Well,
that's the greatest saying I've ever heard. That's the
keep
greatest.
trying. Obviously the grass in Houston grows faster than in Northwest Indiana, probably. But that doesn't
I'm
mean that
gonna
you
use that.
that you do a business, start a business in Houston, it's better than in Indiana. But yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna use that. You can't pull grass to make it grow faster.